Okay, so today we are on day 2 of my workbench project. In this little segment, I'm going to put in the foxtail pegs that are going to be holding the corner miters together. It's a really simple project and it looks really good. It gives it kind of an old school feel, but is very strong. So what I'm going to do for these videos is I'm just going to give you a brief walkthrough of what I'm doing, and then I'm going to record myself doing the work, and then we'll talk about what I did between each segment. Okay, so step 1. Yesterday I finished putting all the joinery together and gluing it up, and there's also 2 screws in the back that are passing through to hold it nice and tight. So my first step today is going to be to back out the screws so I don't run my spade drill into them, and mark out the X for when the peg is going to set in the center.
"100 days have made me older since the last time that I saw your pretty face."
Okay, so I've marked my X for where the spade bit's going to start. It's going to be a 1-inch diameter circle, which matches up with some dowel rod that I bought earlier. I've taken the screw out of the back, so there should be no interference. Alright, so all I did was buy a 1-inch dowel rod from the local hardware store, and then I just passed my table saw through the end of it to make a 1/16 inch kerf right through the center. So we'll try this in the hole and see how it fits. Alright, it looks like they're a little bit long. So I'm going to go over the table saw and trim it down just a little bit. Okay, so if you look inside the hole here, you'll see that there's a tiny hole all the way at the back, and that's the screw hole passing in from the back side. This is going to be important because when we put this peg in, the peg is going to hold this board firmly, but it's not really passing all the way through the back tendon because the alignment's not right, and then it would also interfere with the peg on the opposite side. So for this one, I'm only going to put the peg through about halfway, and then I'm going to use a screw to draw it in the rest of the way. Alright, so onward we go. So I've got the hole drilled. It's the right depth. I've got my peg sized properly. So the next step is to put some glue on it, put some glue inside, and tap it into place. Now one important thing you want to realize when you're doing this is you want your plug to go opposite of your grain direction. So obviously the grain of my 2x4 is going this way. I want my plug to go up and down. And this is so when I hammer the wedge into it, it doesn't try to split the wood. Very important step to remember, because if you put it in the wrong way and pound it in too hard, you can split it right open. Alright, so I'm going to go through the next couple steps and then I'll meet you back.
1,000 lies have made me colder, and I don't think I can look at this the same. All the miles are separate.
Okay, so the peg is in. I've got it glued up nice and good. Our direction is running opposite of the grain direction of the wood. Now, this is the material I'm going to use for the spline inside this peg, or the wedge. It's just a piece of 1 inch wide, about an 1/8 inch thick piece of walnut scrap. I'm just going to use a hand plane to put a little bevel on one side so it starts easy, and then I'm just going to pound it in, saw it off.
Disappear now when I'm dreaming of your face. I'm here without you, baby, but you're still on my lonely mind. I think about you, baby, and I dream about you all the time. I'm here without you, baby, but you're still with me in my dreams. And tonight,
Alright, so now the peg is in, the wedge has been pounded into place. The next step is going to be sawing it off. Now to help protect the wood around the peg while I'm sawing with my Japanese pull saw, is I'm going to put a little masking tape around it. And this will give me a little buffer zone, so that way when I'm cutting I'm not scratching up this face. Because those scratches take forever to sand out. And the time that it takes to put the tape around it is well worth it, so you don't have to spend all that time sanding later.
just keep rolling.
Okay, so I sawed this off. I've removed my tape. Now, as you can see, it's pretty rough. There's some tear out down here from when I originally did the dado to fit this in, and then this is all pretty sanded. Now, you don't want to get discouraged when you're in these projects and you put it together and it doesn't come out looking perfect. It rarely ever does. This is the point where you can really go over it and fix as much of this as you can. So now while you're watching, I'm going to sand this out, I'm going to fill some of this, and I'm going to try to make this just as presentable as possible.
As the people leave the way to say hello, I've heard this laugh.
Okay, so I've got my first bit of sanding done. I've got a lot of the highs and the lows out of it, but I still have some cracks right here where these two meet, and there's some tear out that I want to take care of, just dress it up a little bit. Now, obviously, I'm making this workbench out of just dimensional lumber from the hardware store. You have to have realistic expectations about how fine you're going to make it look. I'm just trying to make it look as nice as I can inside the limitations of the wood. Obviously, if it was made out of a fine hardwood or some more expensive material, you would probably take more time to really make sure each one of those lines was perfect. Now I'm going to use this Minwax Stainable Filler. Minwax. This stuff isn't for everything, but for rough projects like this, it works really, really well. It's got a very sandy texture, but it matches real well. It sands super easy, and it will take stain or finish, so it will match with everything else when you're done.
Is overrated, but I hope that it gets better as we go. I'm here without you, baby, but you're still on my lonely mind.
Now, after I put my filler on, I almost never wait for it to dry. I always sand it while it's still wet. And I do this because some of that sanding dust that you're producing while you're sanding, it gets ground into that fill and it helps the color match.
Think about you, baby, and I dream about you all the time. I'm here without you, baby, but you're...
Okay, so I'm done sanding. I started with something real coarse. I think it was 80 grit, and then I went down to 100, and then I stopped at 150. You really got to keep in mind that the more you refine your surface, the more the tiny imperfections are really going to pop out. So for something that's going to be semi-rough like this, 150 is going to be fine, and you won't be able to see any of the hard scratches in the clear. To finish this one corner off, I'm going to use this fast-drying polyurethane clear satin from Minwax. I use this stuff for a lot. I really like it. I'll probably end up doing the whole frame in this, and then using tung oil or linseed for the top.
Still with me in my dreams. And tonight, girl, there's only you and me. Everything I know, anywhere I go.
Alright, so here we are, all done. As you can see, there's a little bit of discoloration here where the tear out was, but you know what? It's perfectly okay. It just gives the workbench a little bit of character. I'm really happy with how these foxtail pegs went in. I think they look really nice, and they're going to hold that super strong. Alright, so that wraps it up on this brief tutorial on how to create these foxtail pegs. This is a really great form of joinery that I enjoy a lot because it's very simple to do. It looks very old school. All the metal screws are hidden, and all you see are the dowels and the joinery on the top, which is really what I'm going for in this. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've got many more of these to do to finish this bench because not only is there 4 on every leg, but there's also going to be 1 or 2 in every single support all the way down the side. So when I'm done with that, I'll bring you back and I'll show you that finished project before we move on to the bench fights that I'm going to build for this bench. So thanks, and I hope you tune back in again.
Think about you, baby, and I dream about you all the time. I'm here with